Talk about a crusher. Yes! Oh!
Are you kidding me?
And gone!
Welcome back to the Schoolyard Sports podcast. I'm the host of this podcast, Lane Frank. We are now on episode 251. So we're 251 episodes through, and I got an action-packed episode planned for you. We're going to break down some of the news that's happened in the NFL. We've got our college basketball March Madness conference tournaments coming up. We've got the WBC starting tonight, and we've got a lot more going on in the wide world of sports. So let's hop into episode 251. Let's start out episode 251, how we always do, with our headlines in the NBA. Jason Tatum is coming back, we think, for the Boston Celtics. Now, I'm going to give you a whole breakdown on it later on could this affect things in the Eastern Conference. I definitely think it will. I mean, they're the second seed right now. But is this Jason Tatum's team? Is this Jaylen Brown's team? That's a dynamic I'm going to explore later on in this episode. Really the only news I want to go over so far in the NBA. Now in the MLB, we've got the WBC coming up, and it's really fun to watch. It really is. I'm going to give you my top 5 teams later on. I'm going to give you a great story that we have coming into this WBC, and it's a fun time for baseball doing this. You know, I don't love the timing of it always right before the MLB season, but it's good to get international baseball, a sport that's so great globally. When you have countries like the Netherlands, Italy, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Japan, Korea, USA, all so good at it. That's what makes it fun. There really is no solid contender here so far. So I love the squad. USA, maybe they'll win it, maybe they won't. We got a lot to discuss the WBC later on in this episode. Now in the NFL, the official new league year hasn't started yet, but we're still getting news. Stephon Diggs is expected to be cut by the New England Patriots after just one season. A guy who used to be the best receiver in the NFL is having a tumultuous time the past few years with the Texans, his exit from the Bills, and now his exit from New England, where he actually had a good season, but it's off the field. That's keeping Stephon Diggs, the wide receiver one, in trouble. Some other news in the NFL. DJ Moore, a former wide receiver one for Caleb Williams, has been traded to the Buffalo Bills. A great deal for the Bills. They get him. And Josh Allen has a new favorite target up there in Buffalo. Caleb Williams loses one. But in my opinion, I don't think this trade would have gotten done without the approval of Caleb Williams, without the Iceman's approval. So that's something to look for right here. They might take a receiver in the first round. We'll see what they do. DJ Moore, no longer a member of the Chicago Bears, heading over to Buffalo. Now, David Montgomery got shipped out of the NFC North and is heading down to the AFC South to beat the Houston Texans. The Lions trade away their running back 1, running back 2, who dealt with some injuries, but also kind of took away some carries from Jahmyr Gibbs. Was he the star? Was he not the star? That was a question a lot of people had to ask. Was he RB1? Was he RB2? None of those questions are going to be asked anymore. David Montgomery shipped out for a 5th-round pick to Houston. The biggest deal in the NFL this week was Chiefs cornerback and former first-round pick Trent McDuffie getting traded to the Los Angeles Rams for a first-round pick and a third-round pick. That's a big deal for LA. They get their cornerback. They want to go with that Super Bowl all-star type of squad again. I mean, they've done moves like this in the past. When you look at, let's go with their 2019 roster, they trade for Jalen Ramsey. They trade a big pick for him from Jacksonville. When they got Marcus Peters from the Chiefs, when they trade a big pick for him, they got him all to come to LA. Now they make a move right here. They're getting Trent McDuffie, one of the best lock-up corners in the game. Not much else going on in the wild world of sports. In the headlines, Indian Wells starting up for tennis. That's a fun tournament always. And that's about for the headlines this week. Now, take of the week, why conference tournaments are the best part of college basketball. Don't get me wrong, I love the NCAA tournaments. I love watching those games. But there's something about your team who hasn't won a game in months still having a chance to win a national championship. That's how college basketball works. Now, some conferences don't let every team in, but some of them do. So you can go winless in your conference and still make your conference tournament, still make a run there, and still get an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. It's contentious. Some people might think that, the conference regular season winner should really be the one to win the conference tournament. But if you're the best team in the conference, you should win your conference tournament. That's my opinion on it too. It's a fun thing to watch. When are you ever going to see your team play 3 games in 3 days or 4 games in 4 days, whatever it might be? It's games going on throughout the day, and we don't get that, whether you're watching it in school or whether you're watching it on the beach for spring break. It's a very fun time. And, seeing where things stack up. Where's your bubble team going to be going? Who's making that big run this year? We're going to get through all my picks later, the conference tournaments and the Power 5 conferences in college basketball, but I had to throw that take of the week out there. Why conference tournaments are a special part of the game and are the best part of our game. Now, top 5. This week's top 5 is the top 5 teams in the world baseball classic. I love the WBC. It's a great time, great event for all sports fans. You know, you're going across the globe playing these games. I think the final will be in Miami again this year. We'll see if Japan can bring home their title again. We'll see where they stack up on this list. Are they number 1? Are they even on this list of the top 5 teams? Let's get into it. But I'm going to give you one honorable mention before I go 5 through 1, and that one honorable mention is the Netherlands. Now, they don't really play baseball in the Netherlands. It's more the colonies that the Netherlands has, like Aruba, like Curacao. There's guys like Xander Bogaerts, Ozzie Albies, Kenley Jansen, who come and play for the Netherlands in the WBC. They are an honorable mention on here. They are a team to look out for. Number 5 on my list, I'm going to go with Venezuela. Now, Venezuela is definitely an interesting squad. They have not the best pitching out there, but some good hitters too. Ronald Acuña Jr. is the star of this team. We'll see how far he can take them. 5, Venezuela. 4, Puerto Rico. Now, Puerto Rico is missing some stars. Javier Baez, Francisco Lindor, a few other guys that couldn't get their insurance clear, like Carlos Correa. But a guy like Edwin Diaz, who broke his leg in the WBC last time, well, he's back for them this time. We'll see what he can do some damage. Puerto Rico, number 4. Number 3, I'm going to put the reigning champions, Japan, at number 3. Munetaka Murakami, he's back, and he's going to be playing in MLB this year, but he's also back in WBC. Roki Sasaki, how will he play here? Obviously did a great time last time. Will he perform that same level this time? Now that he's in MLB, and I'm very excited to watch him this season and this WBC. Shohei Ohtani, will it be Shohei Ohtani the hitter on display or Shohei Ohtani the pitcher? Last time it was Shohei Ohtani the pitcher, winning it in the WBC for Japan. We'll see if he can do it again this time. 3, Japan. 2, Dominican Republic. I think Dominican Republic is better than Japan, not just because of the amazing lineup of hitters they got, because they have an ace this time in Christopher Sanchez. Christopher Sanchez, one of the best pitchers in MLB for the Philadelphia Phillies. He's on this squad. They've got a great lineup. Juan Soto, I mean, he's the heart and soul of this lineup, of course. But I mean, it goes down the line. Fernando Tatis Jr. batting in there. Julio Rodriguez is batting 7th for this team. It's an embarrassment of riches in this lineup. They can give up however many runs they want. They can probably make up for that in one inning with this lineup. 2, the Dominican Republic. Number 1 on my list is the USA. They've only won it once, and that was in 2017. But on America's 250th anniversary, and after seeing what the hockey team just did, they're going to win this WBC, and they are number 1 on my list. The best pitching they've ever had. It goes from Tarek Skubal to Paul Skeens, in the bullpen guys like Clay Holmes, to a new starter in Nolan McLean, who would start a potential championship game for Team USA, they announced. A manager like Mark DeRosa, a great squad. Bryce Harper, Aaron Judge, the captain of this team. Bobby Witt Jr., another embarrassment of riches squad, but the best one, USA. And they will win the 2026 WBC. Now, did you know, this week's Did You Know is, did you know a double-digit seed has never made the national championship game? Now, many have made the Final Four. Let's go even recently. Loyola Chicago in 2018, UCLA in 2021, DJ Burns in North Carolina State 2 years ago. But who's going to do it this year? Will an 11th seed make the NCAA tournament Final Four? Maybe, but they're definitely not making the national championship game based off history. No double-digit seed has ever made the title game. Did you know that? Leave down in the comments. That's about for Did You Know this week. Now, my spotlight for this week is going to be on the Czech Republic WBC squad. This isn't their first time competing, but it's a very interesting squad competing for the WBC. Last time they went out there in 2023, they had a fireman striking out Shohei Ohtani. They had guys working everyday jobs doing improbable tasks on a baseball field. And they're doing it again. These aren't MLB players. They've got one guy who's playing the MLB, and that's Taran Vera. Have you heard of him? I didn't hear of him until about an hour before we did this episode. Taran Vera is their only MLB player. Now, they've got a minor league player, Martin Cervenka, but that's really it. This is the rest of the squad is your average, everyday Joes, or whatever Joe is called in the Czech Republic. Definitely not Joe. Now, here's our little spotlight on it. There is a firefighter on this team. There's a teacher on this team. There's a financial advisor, and there's an electrician. This isn't just a miracle on ice, improbable type of odds here. This is a David versus Goliath type of thing going on here. If they can even win a game in the WBC, if they can get to the second round, it'd be incredible. So I'm excited to watch them, this Czech Republic squad of everyday people going out there on the baseball field, having fun another time in their life. Didn't know that, and that's our spotlight on the Czech Republic baseball squad in the WBC, just being these everyday guys, the firefighter, the teacher, the electrician, the financial advisor. Love that one. That's our spotlight for the week. Now, if anybody's asked me over the past few years who my favorite NFL player is, my New York Giants haven't done great over the past few years, so I haven't given you a name from there. The name I've always given you, if you've asked me that question, has been Kyler Murray. And there's a reason for that. It's not that Kyler Murray is the flashiest or most fun player to watch. It's the kind of story he's got and the kind of uphill battle he faces, not just from the fans, but also from the media and a lot of other people, including his own team throughout his career. And this is an end of an era, not an end of an error for Kyler Murray, because the error would not be on his end, it'd be on the Cardinals' end, the way they failed him so far. Kyler Murray gets hated on by everybody. He's 5'10", he's 209 pounds, he gave bad interviews to the Combine. Nobody liked him. Nobody likes him now. Nobody wants him now. The Minnesota fans don't want him, the New York Jets fans don't want him. Nobody wants Kyler Murray. But why? This guy is practically the greatest high school football player of all time, and yes, it's high school, but he's the greatest high school football player of all time. This guy's a Heisman Trophy winner at Oklahoma, which is impressive, and it's college, a Heisman Trophy winner. He's also the number 9 pick in the MLB draft in 2018. One of the best athletes to play in sports right now might just be Kyler Murray because of that dual sportness. Really. And you might say, oh, none of that matters because he hasn't done anything in the pros. He's done something in the pros. He's the 2019 Rookie of the Year. He's made playoff games, but he's had injuries throughout his career. His first year, he started every game, 16 games. Same the next year, 16 games. Missed a few games the next year, only started 14, and that's the year they made the playoffs with Kyler Murray. 11 the next year. 8 the next year, he actually tore his ACL. 17 the next season, and still coming back from that ACL injury, still played all 17 games. And then 5 this season for Kyler Murray. 5. He didn't play much. Look, and there was a point in time where Arizona put a lot of faith into Kyler Murray. They went after Josh Rosen the year before, man, the number 10 overall pick, and a year later they turned their back on him for Kyler Murray, and they made him the number 1 overall pick, a guy who didn't even have a chance to play football at the time. They gave him that. They gave him DeAndre Hopkins after 1 year because they said he needs some receivers. They got him J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt, obviously one of the best superstars at the time, because they went big for Kyler Murray. But after that, things kind of fizzled out. They didn't want to go big for him anymore. They brought in a defensive head coach in Jonathan Gannon after firing his guy, Cliff Kingsbury. They didn't do anything to bolster his receivers, brickhand receivers, I'd like to say. The running back room was weak outside of James Conner, and just nothing got going. There was no offensive line. That's why, when you look at the stats of the games he's played, going from 16, 16, 14, to then 11 and 8, and then 5 2 years later, Kyler Murray has not had the right system or protection from Arizona in recent years, and that is why this partnership is over. That's why it's an end of an era in Arizona for Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. I think Kyler Murray is going to go on to do great things, and I want to see that. Kyler Murray's had some things at fault. He has. He's had issues with video games in the past that people like to say. He's had issues with a lot of things, but he's still been the quarterback of this team. It's still won games for them when they surround him with the right pieces. He has that big contractor, had that big contract, and they turned their back on him. Kyler Murray, after he signed that contract, got no help from Arizona, and that's why we're in this mess. That's my take on the end of an era for Kyler Murray. Now, college basketball madness. We're in March. We're getting to these conference tournaments. So here are my picks for the 5 power conferences and who will win the conference tournament, each of them. Let's start with the ACC because this one's pretty obvious. I think there might be a team like Miami who can make the final, and that'd be cool to see, boost their seeding a little bit. But nobody's beating this Duke squad, especially not in the ACC. ACC goes to Duke. Well, then the Big East, UConn or St. John's, because nobody in this conference is good enough outside of those two. Said it a few weeks ago, I'll say it again. I think St. John's, who they won that first matchup against UConn and lost by 32 in the second one, gets revenge and wins the battle in the third one. St. John's over UConn, they win the Big East, their home court, MSG. Who will win the SEC? Well, I'm going to ride with my prediction from a few weeks ago. On February, maybe even February 1st, I said that Florida would go undefeated the rest of the regular season, and they've done that so far. And they're going to do it in the postseason too, at least in the SEC tournament. So Florida wins the SEC. The Gators, Xavier Lee, Boogie Flynn, they're really finding their stride. And this front court is still that same front court that won them a championship last year. Ruben Chinyuleu, Thomas Haug, look at guys like Micah Hanlockton who have been there for 3+ years. A great squad down in Gainesville. And they win the SEC for a second straight year. Who win the Big Ten? I think it'd be Michigan. I think Michigan in close games wins it better than anybody in the Big Ten. You look at tonight, they didn't play well against Iowa. Well, they won that game, a road game, a tough environment. I think Michigan still has great depth even after losing point guard LJ Kaysen, and Michigan wins the Big Ten. Who win the Big 12? Well, there's a lot of good contenders. There's Texas Tech, there's Iowa State, there's Arizona, there's Kansas. None of those teams win it. TCU wins it. I think they're a great squad. Brock Holt has been like heart and soul. Jamie Dixon, head coach, has done a great job with this team. A team that lost their first game of the year. They lost to New Orleans, a team that had half their team suspended or their whole team suspended for gambling. And then a week later, they went out there and they lost by 4 to Michigan, who's the number 3 team in the country right now. Very impressive. Then they beat Florida, who I just raved on. Then they beat Iowa State a few weeks later. They've also got wins against Wisconsin. They're a good squad, TCU, and they will win the Big 12. So that's about it for college basketball madness this week. Jason Tatum might come back this week. Tore his Achilles last year against the New York Knicks in the playoff series. Obviously, he's one of the best players in not just the league, but obviously the world. Jason Tatum has done it on the world stage, the Olympics, and a lot of other places. FIBA, done it at Duke. He's been a great player his whole entire NBA career. But people might think that Jaylen Brown is the new face of this franchise. Well, he's higher paid than Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown might be the highest paid player in NBA right now. Something's fishy is going to go on here. What's going to happen? Is Jaylen Brown going to have to step back and take that back seat? Or is Jason Tatum, who's been the star of this team, who was the real star of this team when they won that championship, the number one option, is he going to have to take that back seat? There's no denying that Jaylen Brown is going to win MVP this year, could win MVP this year. There's no denying that Boston would be in the lottery if it wasn't for Jaylen Brown. But none of that matters because Jason Tatum at the end of the day is the better player. Now, I'm all for Jaylen Brown still being that alpha on this squad until playoffs come around. But when playoffs come around, Jason Tatum is at full speed again. I do believe that he's the best player on this team. I do. I think Brad Stevens knows that. I think the owners know that. I think Joe Mazzulla knows that, even if he doesn't want to say it. And you know who also knows it? Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown knows it. Jaylen Brown knows that he is not the number one option on this team. He'll take a back seat. When it comes down to it at the end of the game, I'm a bigger fan of Jason Tatum than I am Jaylen Brown. That's just how it goes. I am. I think Jason Tatum, what people might think Jaylen Brown is, Jason Tatum is better. Jason Tatum will be the star of this team when it comes to playoff time. And this whole debate right now that's going around, is it going to be Jason Tatum? Is it going to be Jaylen Brown? Yes, Jaylen Brown has done a great job with this team, but Jason Tatum has been the heart and soul of this team his whole entire career in Boston. Not that Jaylen Brown hasn't, but Jason Tatum is the star of this team. He's number 2, Jaylen Brown. Jason Tatum's number 1. That's about it from At the Buzzer this week, breaking down this Boston Celtics situation. I hope it didn't seem like I was glazing Jason Tatum a little too much here, but I just do think that Jason Tatum is going to be the best option for Boston come playoff time. Now, the best for last question of the day. This week's question day is, who will win this year's Indian Wells? Last year, Jack Draper won it. The year before that, Carlos Alcaraz won it. But last year, Yannick Sinner, he was suspended. He couldn't play in it. The year before that, he lost to Carlos Alcaraz in that famous B match where the B cave went all crazy there. But I think Yannick Sinner will win this year's Indian Wells. Leave your answer in the comments on who you think win Indian Wells this year. That's about question day this week. That's about for Schoolyard Sports Lane Frank, episode 251. Thank you for tuning in. Follow Schoolyard Sports on Instagram at Schoolyard Sports. Follow Schoolyard Sports on X at Schoolyard Sport. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review for the best sports content in the world. Be back next week, episode 252. Stay tuned.